Okay, so my voice has been like this for 3 days now. I think I'm just gonna record the audio and you're just gonna have to deal with the voice cracking. I've been animating for like half my life. For most of that time, I was drawing warrior cats, almost exclusively. Eventually, I decided to expand my horizons by drawing slug cats. Cats, cats, cats. What is this curse and how do I break out of it? Well, having animated humans for a bit now, I thought I'd share some of my experiences and the things I've learned to hopefully help those who find themselves in a similar situation. Learning to just draw humans after drawing cats for many, many years is its own struggle, of course, but even after you've figured that out and gotten used to drawing humans, animation is still like extra scary. So is animating humans objectively harder than animating cats? Kinda. In terms of detail, yes. If you're animating cats that look like this, then animating humans is probably going to be equally as awful. But usually when I animate, I try to reduce the detail of the characters to make them easier to draw. With warrior cats, it was pretty easy to get away with giving these cats minimal detail, not many individual colors, and to keep the markings and such easy to draw. When you animate, you need to redraw each detail with every frame, so adding even a little bit of detail adds to the amount of work you have to do exponentially, especially if your animation has lots of frames. Slug cats were actually, oh my god. Slug cats were actually even easier to animate than warrior cats were because most of them literally just have one color to them, maximum of 3, and their arms just disappear, so I don't have to draw those all of the time either. But humans have this really annoying thing called clothes, and hair, and bare skin, and eyeballs that is already like 4 colors at minimum, because most humans do not go around wearing a unicolored jumpsuit. What the fuck is this shit? How am I meant to animate this shit? But I found that there actually are ways to get around having to animate an insufferable amount of detail. First of all, you can just reduce the amount of detail. The pupils and the hair are a similar color. They're the same color now. Even relatively small time saves build up over multiple frames. I feel like I'm talking about a speedrun. But I guess effectively I am. Animation is a speedrun. Second of all, you can draw kinda shitty when things are far away from the camera, reduce the detail to its absolute minimum. Same goes for when stuff isn't the focus of the shot, or when it's an in-between that's going to last maybe a tenth of a second at maximum. Third of all, this applies to animating anything, but you can often just reduce the frame rate. Animate on doubles, animate on triples, animate on quadruples. You'd be surprised how far you can push this before it starts to be a problem. But Nordflow, I want my animation to be smooth. In my personal experience, whether an animation looks smooth is less dependent on the amount of drawings per second and more dependent on stuff like physics and arcs and dynamics. It also kinda depends on the type of movement you're trying to convey, but personally I mostly animate in 15 or 10 or 8 FPS, or doubles or triples or quadruples at 30 FPS for the animation nerds out there. Fourth of all, you can copy and paste things. You can trace your previous frames. When done well, this can also improve the consistency of the animation. Don't redraw things for the sake of redrawing them. For example, here I have this run cycle, a lot more detail in this design that I'd like, and given that it's close to the camera and the focus of the shot, I can't really get away with reducing the detail anymore that I already have. This run cycle is 8 frames long, but I have only drawn 4 faces, which I've then copy-pasted. There's really only a few individual drawings of the hair here. I've just kind of stretched it here at the ends to make it appear like it's moving. Most of the time I only use this method on the line art and then color the frames individually anyways. Lastly, if you're in a position where you get to decide your character designs, you could just not color them in. I used this method with my short film. It worked out. Just don't color, don't shade, don't. That's always going to be the fastest way. And like, if you haven't animated humans before, you could always just do some sketch animation. Try to get a grip on that before having to worry about rendering any of that shit. I do think that the added detail is probably the biggest hurdle in learning to animate humans when all you've ever drawn is cats. But there's also some other stuff. I love using hues like blue and purple to shade, but doing that with human skin can sometimes make it look sickly because of this thing called subsurface scattering. Basically, the light goes through the skin and kind of bounces around in there, and it makes stuff look red because there's blood in there or something. I don't really understand the intricacies of it. When I'm just drawing normally, I get around this quickly by making the entire multiply layer of my shading red wherever there's skin, which is a faster way to get rid of the sickly effect than painting in the subsurface scattering manually. You could also do this while animating, but it adds extra work. You could also shade with warm hues to begin with, or you could just not care. Allow everyone to look like they're at death's door, or not shade at all. Actually, the more I talk, the more convinced I become that shading is a bad idea. Run cycles. They're harder when it's humans. Remember this run cycle? I also animated a dog for the same thing. 5 frames. Might have even been able to make it just 4 if I cared. Versus the 8 frames for a human run cycle that's doubled. Because the arms and the legs go on different sides. If you're animating a run cycle from the front, you can just mirror it and it's fine. Can't do that here though. Actually, I did another human run cycle for this animation and I did that one before the other one and I just forgot how humans work and made it 5 frames. Perfectly symmetrical. Now we can pretend that this is intentional because Duke here is an older dude and he's holding a gun off screen. So it kind of just looks like he's limping while holding a rifle if you squint. Or riding a horse. And the horse is quadrupedal. I also have this shorthand for a run cycle that I like to use, which is more cartoony and it's just 3 frames. That works too if you don't care about making it look accurate to real life. Drawing human-specific body parts like hands and feet. You don't actually have to. I frequently get away with doing shit like this. I do know how to animate hands. But most of the time, if the hand isn't really the point of the animation, then you can just not do that. No one will care. No one ever cares. So, in essence, a summary, don't add detail, do not draw, do not animate, do as little as possible, never do anything. I hope that helps.